Okay, let's start. So the other day, I saw on a Facebook or YouTube short the little video about the middle-aged man crossing the border with what appears to be 16 years old girl passport. Long story short, he was let go with the comment, update the photo on your passport. So I thought it's funny, but then I thought a little bit more. And then I thought that this is not so funny. Even though the clip blew up the situation out of proportion, the issue is there. How will you spot the forgery and distinguish it from the sign of normal tear and wear? I hope that by the end of today's webinar, I will be able to give you a few pointers on this matter. So before we go into the webinar, let's address a couple of the housekeeping issues. So if you are having any trouble with the audio, please try to dial into the numbers provided in the invitation. Please feel free to submit your questions during our presentations in the chat window, and either myself or one from the regular team will address those questions by the end of the webinar. Also, this webinar is being recorded, so we will be mailing the link to all the registered participants. Let's start. My name is Arif Mamedov, and I am the CEO of Regular Forensics Inc., a US arm of Regular Group of companies. I will not spend much time of telling you my life story. I just mentioned that I opened a US office in 2010, and in fact, we just celebrated our 14th birthday this passing Monday. I've been running the company ever since, and in addition to my day-to-day job of running the company, I am trying to be personally involved with our government clients, including the various border services. I spent a little bit more time on the company though. We started over 30 years ago as a hardware company designing and manufacturing devices to verify authenticity of the banknotes and the documents, IDs. Late in our history, we have expanded into the devices and the software for the automatic document verification. From the very first days, we were focusing 100% on in-house research and development and manufacturing. That allows us not only to control the quality of our products, but also proven to be a life-saving strategy during the global logistical chaos caused by COVID-19 pandemic. Today, we cover about 170 countries. Our solutions in one form or another being used on over 80 borders, and our clients benefit from the most comprehensive library of identity documents from 249 countries and territories. We're global. We have 6 main offices located worldwide, and the headquarters in Latvia. As I mentioned, I represent the US office, which serves de facto as a co-headquarters and oversees our global operations on the software component of our business. Regular also has an intensive partners program. Through the partnerships, we reach out for all over the globe and can provide quality services to clients no matter what locations they are in. As I mentioned, that we control in-house the R&D and the manufacturing, but I would say that we are actually a completely vertically integrated company. We design, develop, manufacture, and sell tools and solutions for the high-quality analysis and or authentication of the documents and passengers. Our core elements of verifications are hardware and software for the ID and biometric verification, forensic devices for documents examination, information reference systems, and training workshop. The fact that we cover the whole area from the software to hardware and from the forensic part to the automated document verification allows us to connect those areas and apply the lessons learned in the forensic side, for example, to design our automated algorithms to be in-depth to use the in-depth verifications at the front line as well. So we constantly partner and directly engaged with the number of international organizations such as Interpol, Europol, ICAO, United Nations, and so on. This cooperation allows us to be on the leading edge and implement the shared expertise into our solution, as well as provide our feedback to this organization as being exposed to the field operations through our partners or through our customers. So to sum it up, we have been around. We know a few things, and I'll be happy to share some of those things with you. So let's move on the challenges faced by the border control. Before starting that, I should note that even though I am based in the US and we have some of solutions utilized by the US Customs and Border Protection, I will not be talking about any particular country. Remember, we are all over 80 borders. So I will not be comparing the solutions from one border to another, since each country has its own challenges and its own vision of what solutions fits the best for their purposes. Also, I will not be talking about forward-looking solutions or programs which require pre-clearance of the travel. Actually, I would say I would not focus much on those solutions because those are great programs. And I love the perks, for example, which provided to me by my Global Entry program. But I plan to focus on more general solutions. When border officers is looking at the visitors and need to make decisions on information provided, passport, person itself, flight manifest, visa, if the visa required. And also to demonstrate the scenario of that examinations, let me tell you a little story. About 8 years ago, ISIS took over the printing facilities in Syria. That means the genuine passport books were personalized using the genuine equipment, which is almost impossible to distinguish from the original passports. Those passports have been given to the ISIS operatives, posing themselves as refugees and infiltrating the European countries, the rest of the world, not only in Europe, and US and Asia and whatsoever. So how do you distinguish that person when you don't have access to the record? You cannot ping the record and verify with the Syrian government that this person exists. I said that almost impossible to distinguish because the only difference in the way the passport was personalized is the information contained in the barcode on the Syrian passport. That barcode contained country-specific information, which had little photo programmed in and the name and some information about the person in Arabic. The ISIS operatives did not have the protocols or algorithms to make this program in the barcode. So one day I got a message from the forensic laboratories and asked if we can read and can we distinguish the barcodes. I said, yes, of course. And a few days later, actually, the case was examined. I would train my friends from the laboratory how to recognize and how to read those barcodes. But the benefit of that read came from our previous experience in Europe, because 3 months prior, we actually were involved in a similar case when we've been deciphering the barcode data from the Syrian passport. So we did not follow up on the story. So for me, it's hard to say, was it just general evaluation or it was some sleeper cell was uncovered. Again, we provide the tools. We'll let the examiners, we'll let the partners to do the job and contain all the information. We do not ask much of the what's going on and don't ask a lot of the personal information or use case scenarios from the customers. But that story is just one of the many examples of the challenges faced by the border control officials. The other challenges are well known, familiar to you guys. Increased traffic volumes. With the rise of international travelers, officers dealing with the high number of the travelers making it challenging to maintain through the checks without causing the delays. A lot of countries, on the top of it, implement the personal privacy laws, mandating how much the privacy information could be disclosed and shared with the officers. So it makes it a little bit more challenging to maintain that fine line between violating the privacy and keeping the security high enough to avoid any perpetrators going through the borders. Political situations, the wars, the economic situations force people to move from one area to another, and sometimes those people as actually refugees. They might not have all the passports or any type of the documents. We are lucky if they have some local documents which are not internationally recognized travel documents, but this is all they have. So it puts more challenge on us to be able to recognize those type of the documents and provide the viable information for making decisions. And of course, technology is not staying still. not only us have an access to the advanced technologies. The bad guys is also have the access to the better tools and better technologies, so they can have a sophisticated forged documents. And we have to always play cat and mouse with them, trying to catch up and detect new threats in the forgery designs and automate the process for early detection at the front line without actually letting the person go into the country and hopefully catch it later, sometimes in the forensic examination type scenarios. So while border process and challenges might be similar around the world, each country and situation has its own distinct context. Furthermore, the challenges might even vary within the same country. So, for example, larger airports will have more personnel available for the different roles, such as border officer or border guard, supervisor who might have some document training, document expert who have all the tools and the knowledge to actually do the enhanced and in-depth document verifications. In the small airports, those roles might be merged. So the supervisor and the border guard will have some sort of advanced training in order to detect the forgeries, but the final decisions could be done by the examiner who might not even present at the airport and work remotely. So Regula actively works with the border guards and the forensic experts and the integrators company, digging deeper into the specifics of each case to provide the most adaptive and customized solution for this type of deployment. And this comes from the experience which we learn and collect on the global scale. Certain tips and tricks, sort of how to know to type of the applications which we learn on one border might be extrapolated or suggested during the implementation process on the other borders. Or if we see that the benefit could be universal, we can adapt some of our automated algorithms to be able to verify those type of the systems or scenarios. From the experience, what we can see that the effectiveness of the border is actually lays on the three major pillars. It's a technology being used at the border, reference systems available for the officers, and the training and on the authenticity verifications or detecting the forgeries. So basically, training put into the border guard or border officer in particular. So these three pillars are interconnected. For example, outdated hardware will result in more emphasis on personal training and the availability of the reference materials. Lack of extensive document training can, in some extent, be compensated by the hardware and software infrastructure and availability of the visual materials, and so on. I understand that it's almost impossible to have all of them in top notch. The officers have way too many things to do in addition to the document verifications. The technology cannot be updated every year because of the budgeting issues, because of the task, because of 10,000 little things which require the budget to be spent somewhere else. In information reference systems, we try to keep them updated fluently and all the time, but again, it boils down to the budgeting and the whole infrastructure of the update. So what we're trying to do, we try to offer the solutions in the systems to make it, to keep that pyramid in balance. So let's start with hardware. The hardware, it's the solutions which Regula can provide to overcome those challenges. And the first one is the physical document reader. So every salesperson has its favorite, and this model 7020 or X4M is my personal favorite. This is standalone a small desktop, small size reader, which can automatically read and verify authenticity of the passport, IDs, visas, driver's licenses, and all other documents which can fit in the scanning window. It is utilized in many borders, including Mexico, Caribbean countries, some limited deployment in the US, and many others. So in addition to the border, it's actually deployed by aviation security services, law enforcement agencies, immigration services, and other organizations. And it is capable of reading everything you can put on the passport or in a document: barcode, visual zone, RFID chip. The resolution is up to 860 ppi. Pretty much will fit any type of the need for the automated document verifications. But since we are all over 80 borders, we understand that sometimes the requirement could be different. The standalone passport reader might not be used as a device of choice. So, for example, if we put on the kiosks or on the gates or some sort of automated document verification systems. So we put the same technology in a different form factor, and we can actually provide the solutions to be implemented or embedded into the automated document reading system. We will work with integrators, and we are working with the integrators to be able to implement those solutions, to put it as a part of the overall infrastructure and make sure that the information is collected as actually effectively being used during the overall border crossing process. But what about the areas where physical locations have some sort of restraints, or the physical locations does not exist per se? So, for example, the bus full of passengers crossing the border somewhere in the desert. So we have the series of the products which we call mobile workstations. And mobile in this case refers to the mobility of the equipment rather than using the mobile phone, even though one of our latest designs, 7310, is actually combined both. It is cell phone size type of the device, but capable of capturing image in white, UV, and IR light, do the full analysis, reading the RFID chip, and extracting all the data, doing enhanced verifications and validations of the document, analyzing against the security patterns for the document, and provide those information to the border officers or to the border systems. So basically, we have the a la carte type of menu, so you can choose the solution which will fit best for your implementation. But the reader itself is just a camera with the light sources, even though it's sophisticated. You also need the software component at least to be able to process the images collected or the information extracted from the passport. And that's what makes reader a reader, not just a camera. So reader, when we extract the data, we recognize the character sets. We provide some sort of dictionary support when we look and parse the names, surnames, addresses, and the countries, if it's available on the document or if it's required by the system. We parse the data, so we allocate the first name to the appropriate area, last name to the appropriate area, and look for the specific areas where this name is being printed. We recognize the dates in the different complex form. Across the globe, the different dates format are being used, so we can adjust those as well and adjust for those as well. And of course, we provide everything which is required by ICAO and more in order to authenticate the document. We capture the data, we extract the data, we cross-verify the data against each other and against the compatibility with the standard. We recognize known exception in the standard. So, for example, if certain documents being followed the standard but not to the letter, we will recognize this as an exception, and we will process document without raising the flag if we know that it's a known exception, and so on. But we also look deeper inside of the document for the forensic authentication of the document. We will extract the data in IR and UV, images in IR and UV light, and we will look for the specific patterns, which are document-specific pattern. So, for example, if American passport, older generation and new generations, which two of them both have a circulation and been used by the US citizens, we will apply the pattern which is specific for that particular document. If we're looking for the driver's license, my Virginia driver's license will be verified against the pattern specific for my Virginia driver's licenses, while my colleague who is living in Arizona, her driver's license will be analyzed based on her specific patterns as well. So many checks on average when we do the document scanning, we do 25 to 27 different security checks across the all verification parameters, which allow us to make a very qualified, actually to help border officers to make a qualified decisions. We raise the flags, but we don't make decisions for the border officer. So what will happen if we use the mobile phone, the off-the-shelf mobile phone for the document capture? So we have advantages. We have higher and better resolution cameras, but we have a disadvantages. We don't have access to the ultraviolet image or infrared image. But what it allows us is actually to extract the data, analyze the document based on the security features visible in the visuals in the white light. But it also allows you to create the workflow procedure, which pre-verify or pre-board or pre-check the person before going to the actual physical locations. So you reduce the stress of the border crossing by pre-screening your passengers and allowing them to pass through with the ease of security if this person is trusted enough, or if there's certain issues, actually have a little bit more time spending on analysis of the document using the tools such as passport scanner or even the secondary inspection tools. So this is I said that I will not be talking about the pre-enrolling the passengers, but apparently the modern use of the modern cell phones and the cell phone applications has become so common. So it is actually state-of-the-art technology. So it's not forward-looking. It is what is being used right now. Mobile passport type of application, ESTA type of applications. If we're talking about US, a lot of countries have their own pre-visitors or electronic visa type of application. When you fill up this form, and reduce the amount of the stress during the actual border crossing to increase the efficiency of the border crossing process. But us as a hardware or solution provider, I should say more solution provider than a hardware provider, it's also important to receive the feedback from you guys and see what type of the situations you face. So one of the examples, for example, I have a client who been saying that the Israeli passport does not follow the SOP, the standard operation procedure, the ICAO standards. The Israeli passport, the chip on the passport is not programmed according to the ICAO standards, and we constantly raising the flag about this document. So we did an investigations and found out, yes, there is a known exception which we have to implement into our systems in order not to false positive flag the passport, not to send every Israeli citizen flying into the country to the secondary inspection. We did that analysis, we did modify the systems, we did provide the update to our customer. But this is just one of the examples. It's not just Israeli passport. There is many of documents which have the exceptions in the way they program the machine readable zone, in the way they program the chip, in the way they sign the chip, and so on. And we're always working and rely on the feedback from the field to be able to actually update our systems to make it efficient while working with while providing you the solutions for that automated document scanning. So in a nutshell, what we have a la carte menu. I'm not saying that whatever boredom system you guys using right now, you should scratch it and build something new using the regular solution. No. If we have a tool to improve, if there's things we can improve, you don't have to change the system. What we can do, we can add on to add additional layers of the security. It could be just the data capture. It could be use the mobile phone applications. It could be some additional biometric verifications. It could be some enhanced document validation, or piggyback on the existing hardware infrastructure and apply the software solutions to in-depth analysis of the document. The extracting data, using the ultraviolet images, using the pattern checks as additional security checks, you name it. So we can work with you guys, so we can work with your integrator to make sure that we really improve the systems. We are not just they are just to be there. There is a benefit what we can offer, but this benefit needs to be recognized, and it should be really valuable for you guys. But what will happen if the suspicion stays still there? So you look at the document, you look at the person, and you think that there is something wrong with the document. So what we will do, we will send it to the secondary inspection. In certain areas, secondary inspection should be actually frontline officer having additional tool for the more in-depth verifications of the system. So for the lack of clarity, let's say that we will call secondary inspections in the process where documents are manually analyzed using more advanced tools such as the document scanner. And one of those advanced tools is our regular model 4205D. As you can see, we started as an engineer company. We're still in the core engineering company. So we have our devices named by numbers. We don't give that docu checker or the document examination monster type of the names. We just call them plain 4205D. So this is secondary inspection border control devices. And quite often when I presented it, I call it document reader on steroids. It can do everything you see with the standard passport scanner, but it also have much more. It have additional ultraviolet light sources. It actually give the magnification up to 30 times magnification. The onboard computer allow you to install the additional reference database, so you can actually compare side by side the document to the record in the database, so you can see what sort of area you should focus for, or what areas could be the indications of the potential forgeries. So this is the split screen view of the database versus the specimen to be analyzed. But at the end of this webinar, I will have actually video of this device in action, so you will be able to see how it operates. Another device is 4325. It's a little bit more advanced than the previous one. In this device, more bridging the gap between the frontline and secondary inspection and the forensic laboratories. This device is capable of bringing on board some additional verification tools, which are more for the forensic examination, such as spectral luminescent magnifier and thermostage. These two add-ons actually allow you to look deeper into the inks and the materials used to personalized or print the passport book, and allow you to have some level of the forensic level examinations. Of course, it will require some additional knowledge from the examiner, but like I said, there is areas where the forensic examiner is on staff at the border crossing point, and they're quite happy with this type of the devices. So we talk about technology. Let's talk about the reference materials. In fact, in 2 weeks at the Identity Week in Europe, I will be talking at the roundtable discussing the need of the high quality reference materials for any type of the document examination on the front line, on the secondary, and in the forensic laboratories. So if by any chance you guys are in Identity Week in Amsterdam in a couple of weeks, feel free to join that roundtable. I also should note, this is a moment of bragging, that this week we issued an update to our reference systems, which made this system to cover every single country and territory in the in the world. So any country, any territory, we will have a document from that database as a part of our reference system. We might not have some exotic documents, but it is possible to enroll them for you as a user, or share with us, and we can put it in the database for everyone use. So you talk back to us afterwards, and we will be happy to establish the partnership with you guys if you are interested to help us to make this system even bigger. But for now, we already have over 162,000 passport images, over 3,700 visa images, and it's been constantly updated. Pretty much every week there is an update to this database. So very powerful, very useful tool, and especially with conjunction of our other systems. A little bit the information on the screen, a little bit more information on the reference system. So you can see that we have images in white, IR, several wavelengths for the ultraviolet, certain security elements such as anti-stock luminescence, IR luminescence, magnetic ink patterns. Like I said, this database is used not only at the front line and the secondary, but also being used in the forensic laboratories who have an access to more advanced tools, and we provide the reference materials for that examinations as well. The GIF animation of holograms and optically variable elements is also available, so it is easy to visualize, easy to see when you comparing the document to your specimen to the document in databases. It's searchable. It's allow you to find the document you're looking for. You can add your own comments to it. Like I mentioned, you can add some of the documents to it, or you can work with us so we can add it for you. And also it could be installed either locally or on the server, meaning that internet server deployment. Last but not least, training workshops. Like I mentioned, the tools are just the tools for the officer to make decisions, to make the best qualified decision. And the training is one of the most important parts of that decision-making process. So the goal of the trainings workshop is obtain theoretical knowledge of the basics of identity document production, acquiring the practical skills and verifications of the document authenticity in its finest, achieving the confidence and using the websites of identity document owners or any other open source materials to verify the document they see it. And of course, use some forensic devices for the document authenticity verification. Many of these workshops are actually done in partnerships with Interpol. We've done it all over the world, I think, with the exception of Antarctica. But we know the stuff, like I said, and we sharing the stuff with our partners and the clients. One of the actually immediate effects of the training, which we've done a couple of years back with the Interpol, is the story which I was part of. So a week about the training, one of the big international airports, I got a phone call from the officer saying that he thinks that he has fake passport, but he would like to get a sort of second opinion on it. By no means I am forensic document examiner. All I could do is actually pull up my version of the reference database, share the screen with that officer, and we start looking of the specimen he had in his hands in the database, which I had on my computer. So basically, he had 2 out of 3 pillars, and I provide the 3rd pillar. His document scanner system provide the flag to send the person to the secondary. His knowledge and the training was good enough and fresh enough to suspect the foul play, so to make that phone call, and I provide the database so we can work it through and see if there's any grounds for to confirm that this document has been forged. So we've been looking at, we saw some signs of the forgery, and while we've been doing that examination, the person holding that passport actually confirmed the document has been faked. So the person have been detained, and the standard procedures have been applied to that person. For those who is looking on the screen and see that this is another case from the long time ago, so it's not the document have been used in that airport case, but it is the photos from the actual case from about 16 years ago, maybe a little bit more, when the use of UV light to capture the images in the UV in the passport have been relatively new at that time. Majority of the passport readers, we've been using the white NIR light to capture images in ultraviolet, and in-depth verification was a little bit more novelty at that time. So we deployed the system in one of the Scandinavian countries, and the person crossing the border literally had the fake passport written across the ultraviolet, in ultraviolet ink across the biometrics page. I don't know, was it sort of that person pissed off the forger, so the forger decided to make it obvious that this is fake passport, or it's some sort of covert operation when the real passport books have been injected in the black market to see the distribution channels. Like I said, we don't usually ask these questions. We provide the tools, but it was quite interesting to see this type of the images popped up in our system. I said that I will not be talking about any border security system or any country in particular, but I should note that I was quite impressed with the border situation in Aruba, to the level that I would like to actually spend a little bit of time about on this system, because in my opinion it is somewhat unique system which we don't see often on the other borders. Aruba is a 99% tourist destination. All their business come from the tourists, and the tourists traveling into the country, it's basically breed on its own. Those people are using their passports once in a year, maybe once in every several years. And for them, border crossing process is actually stress because they're not familiar with the process. You know, we travel a lot. I personally travel a lot internationally. So for me, crossing the border, the longest wait when crossing the border is actually waiting for my luggage to arrive because of the pre-registered, pre-checked, and so on and so on. But those tourists are actually really confused at the border. So the Radex systems designed the overall border crossing process to have under 20 seconds time from the time you come into the officer and by the time you're leaving the officer's booth. So 10 seconds is allocated to all the data capture, verification, and authentication. And they do use the full system. They don't just capture the system, they do the authentication and verification. So we recently published a press release about the system, but if there is any interest that you would love, I would love to share more information with you guys offline, not as part of this webinar. Having said that, it's not the only good system in the world. I know that many of our customers, and some of them on this webinar, are utilizing their systems. And in no way I'm trying to say that you are sort of less advanced than Aruban system. Like I said, Aruba is unique because of their unique deployment scenario. Okay, so let's look at a couple of demo videos, and then we will go to the question session. So let me share video files. So this is our passport reader in action with the software designed to demonstrate the functionality of the passport. So my colleague is scanning the, I believe it's Austrian passport, and using the webcam for the face capture process. So the results are being shown on the screen, but what we do, we capture the image in the white light, image in the infrared light, and if you can see that certain elements are not visible in infrared light, and the ultraviolet light, which has Austrian passport and the European Union rings. What we do, we extract the data from every single data source, such as machine readable zone. We OCR the data in the visual zone. And we'll go to the chip, verify the chip, extract the data, and parse the data into the readable information. We cross-verify, I'm going to pause the video here. We cross-verify the data from every data source, such as machine-readable zone, visual zone, RFID chip. If it would be barcode, the barcode data would be also presented in on the screen. We cross-verify, make sure that the information match to each other, and we also check for the validity. Usually validity check is if it's a document expired, if there is a sort of mismatch, if there is a checksums within the document have been altered and are not passing through. So this is quite effective way to process for about 5-second scan time. So comparing all those data, date of birth, MRZ lines, issuance date, making sure everything is matched, everything is accurate. Comparing the graphical data. Obviously, the data has been extracted from the chip and from the passport. They match each other. But when we use the webcam, it's completely different person. So the validity is red. So we failed the document because of the face match. We do the cross-verification on the in-depth document analysis, such as infrared analysis or UV pattern checks. And we compare it with the pre-registered metrics. We know how the document should look like and what area should be visible, which area should not be visible, and we demonstrate all of them and verify all of them as a part of the process. So blank elements into image patterns. We're looking for that document-specific image patterns, make sure they match and make sure that they compare to the reference. And we're verifying the photo on the page and photo on the chip. There was 97% match, but it's only 3% match between the person in the webcam and the on the documents. The system can be integrated with the reference database. Since we use the specimen, the images on the left and the right is the same, but it gives you the additional level of the confidence for the border officers when we do the examination on the document to have the reference materials available and to have some tools to make sure that the decisions made is actually a qualified decision. As I promised, there will be another video which showing us more enhanced the document verification, that 4205D device, which is like I called it, passport reader on steroids. So we can put the document inside, use the variety of the light sources, including standard ultraviolet or light to look on the document. We can fix the document in place and start do the analysis. Same thing which you would do with the passport scanner, but manually. We better probably close the front door in order to avoid the presence of the ambient light. Furthermore, certain features will not be operatable unless you close the door. So ultraviolet light being C is actually quite harsh, and we need to protect the user from the using of that light. So 254 nanometers, for example, light, then the door must be shut. Using the swipe option, we just rotating across the light sources, and you can see that we're reading white, UV, IR, oblique lights from the left, oblique light from the right, in both white and IR light, which allow you to do the analysis. You can use the touchscreen display pushing the buttons, or you can swipe between one mode and another. Big advantage of this device is that you have ability to actually utilize the transmitted light in order to look inside through the document and look for some security paper, like a watermark type of the technology, in order to visualize and do the analysis and make a decision of the document if it's original or fraudulent, or signs of the forgery. So all these tools are available for you at the front or secondary line without actually calling for the forensic expert. Right now, my colleague is actually reading machine readable zone, which allow you to extract the data, same as you do with the passport scanner. and he also started the reference database. This is a full screen database, but it also could be used as a split screen database. So right now, this is it. So this is the split screen database when the specimen is being compared against the sample you're working with. Zoom up to 30x, allow you to focus on a certain area and actually validate or verify accuracy of the printing, or look for the signs of the alterations on the very, very close area. And that's what my colleague is doing right now. He is actually focusing on the same areas which we highlight as a part of our reference database. And he is looking for exactly the same areas within the specimen he has in front of him, focusing on the area, bringing up the numbers, making sure that the pattern is actually complies with what is in database. Little bit help with the focus. The system has an autofocus feature, but sometimes, and especially in a high zoom, you might need to give a little bit help so you can manually adjust the focus for the best resolution and best view. So numbers, looks like everything is great. Obviously, because we're using the same specimen we use to enroll it into that database. But in real scenario, you will have one document on the top and different document, but of the same type on the bottom on your examination window. This actually high zoom feature could be very useful when you analyze the edge of the document or the stitching of the document, because some of the forgeries has actually involved into unstitch the document, so cut off the stitching fibers, or peeling off the top layer of the visa or of the biometrics page. So usually with this type of the high zoom examinations, you will be able to see the signs of the tampering with that areas. And last but not least, we're reading the RFID chip, extracting all the data, and basically providing into the report with all the data you would extract from the standard passport scanner. Okay. So now I am officially done with the presentation part of the webinar, and we probably have about 20 minutes for the question and answers area, and I would be happy to address any questions you might have. Okay, so I'm looking for the first question. So I'm going to go through the question lines from the top of the as they appear. So how do you organize local technical support? As I mentioned, that we have number of the either direct offices or partnership offices, which allow us to do global coverage of the with supports in our systems. So majority of the deployment, we bring on board either local partner or dedicated partner from the government entity, and we work with them to make sure that they serve as a frontline technical support. There was a number of the cases when I was actually addressing the effectiveness of the support, making sure that we create the support infrastructures to optimize it and make sure there is no significant delays happens due to the lack of communications or different time zones, for example, between US office and the deployment somewhere in Africa, for example. So it appears that you are only verifying the variable data. Do you also verify any of embedded printed security features? Yes, we do. The verifiable variable data, it's a personalization data. We compare to this, but when we apply the pattern checks and image checks in the IPI checks, invisible personal information, even though it's verifiable, but the certain security checks which are designed in the passport book, not with the personalization, we also verify those as well as a part of our advanced authentication module. It is possible to purchase readers by subscription. There's many ways to purchase or deploy the reader with the system, and in many cases we tag along with the integrator or with the part of the partnerships with our partners who advise us what's the best approach in the business model to be deployed in the readers. So majority of the deployments has actually been hardware purchase and the subscriptions to maintain the database. But obviously the subscriptions to the reader, it's also available. We can discuss on case-by-case basis. So if you have certain solution or certain project in mind, feel free to reach out, and we will be happy to discuss it and address that question in person. You just answered my question. Yeah, okay. Thank you. Amazing presentation. Thanks to you. Thank you very much. Do your handheld portable device work on 4G, on 5G networks away from the Wi-Fi network? Yes, it's actually the storage size on the modern telephones is big enough so we can actually put the entire processing on the cell phone size. We can process it without communicating to the network. So if you're out of the Wi-Fi or you're out of even 4G or 5G network, you still can be processed. The only challenges would be to send the data back into the border security infrastructure. But I have a couple of the deployments where the data have been collected locally on the phone, and as soon as the phone is back online, the data is being transferred and updated into the global border system. Okay, Marta, congratulations on the webinar. It's very interesting. Thank you, Marta. Okay, so I think any other questions? Is SDK required to extract data from 4325? It is the examination device, so it more of the looking on the security features. I will have to follow up on the modern the SDK for the 4325 because I believe it can, but it definitely can for 42 or 5D, but I need to verify with 4325. The data and the reports can be created, but the data extraction, I will have to follow up. So one of my teams will follow up with the answer on this one. Have a question in Spanish. I will have to use the translation to translate the question. Okay. For some reason, it did not translate it well. They have table with times for metrics that reflects the factors versus the processing time. Yes, we do. We've done a number of the tests and verifications, and we can demonstrate the processing times for the different scenarios. One of the uniqueness of our algorithms is that we have many processes in parallel. So, for example, when the passport is being inserted into the passport reader, we're already looking for the machine readable zone, and we start reading the chip if it's electronic document before you actually start capturing the optical part. So, on overall number of the processes done in parallel, and we work literally on the milliseconds type of the savings. So we optimize our algorithms to save milliseconds, not seconds, in the processing time. And on average, the full processing time on the document takes about 4.5 to 5 seconds, including the chip extraction, including all of the authentication. But again, we will be happy to share some of the information with us. Please follow up with the request. We wanted to increase the verification factors and the processing times increased significantly. I would suggest to work with our support to optimize the overall process. Because in many cases, when you increase add an additional verification checks, and it results in a significant time increase for the verifications, it could be problem not of the software itself, but a problem of the implementation. There is a interlayer communication interlayers, and sometimes those are not most optimized because so many parties to be involved. So in the past, we've been working with our customers doing some sort of code of analysis. We don't write the code, but we will try to optimize that process as well. And about 3 out of 5 type cases, that was the issue. But again, if you have some specific problem, please follow up with our support, and we'll be happy to help you to address that as a part of our technical support. Question 2: with which eGates integrators do you have feedback on the operational evaluations in the equipment as a whole? So in Mexico, we have been testing equipment that uses their readers for 2 months. So Visionbox is our partner, and they do deploy regular readers as a part of their gates as well. And we've been doing a lot of feedback. We also have Secunet, we have Muhlbauer, who've been using of our readers as a part of their deployment. In many cases, we not exclusive with the eGates or kiosk manufacturers. At the same time, they are not also exclusive with us. So basically, the best solution, the best combination of the solutions wins. But I have very high confidence that many of the gate manufacturers benefit from using the Regular as a part of those. Okay, the face match disabled for children, and what age is reliable? So the questions for the face match of the children, it's by default it is disabled, but it can be enabled. But the face matching algorithms have its own advantages and disadvantages, and there is a lot of research going globally in improving all those face matching algorithms, because in the past about 3 or 4 years, the emphasis on the face matching, liveness detection, and similar processes has become more and more significant in the area. And the more stats coming from the face detection of the kids, it's actually the whole community benefits. I would not say that we're in the early stages, but I would say that there is still room for the improvement. So I know that our research team is working on that area as well. Usually age 13 and up, you are much more reliable than when you're comparing, for example, 2 years old versus 15 years old person. And that's one of the reasons why some countries require the children passports to be replaced every 5 years, not the 10 years. Because of that significant change in the aging process of the little kids to the teenagers and the young adults. We have tried your portable device. In the first generation, it was not successful since reading was difficult because of the focus depending on operator's pulse. Now, second version will close to provide a tripod and make the process portable on the table. There is a version that improves the portable readers? So this question comes from Mexico, and I should mention that Mexico is one of the early adopters of the technologies we provide. I have a very good relationship with my partner in Mexico, and through them with Inami, and they've been giving us a lot of feedback how to improve the devices. This is one of the questions that's actually outlining that story. So yes, they were early adopters on the device, and based on the feedback from Mexico, we've been actually improving the performance and improving the devices in their operation. So Manuel, I would say personally thank you for asking this question and for being part of it. Yes, we are improving. Yes, we are working. So let's talk offline and we'll discuss what else could be done, because I have to update myself on exactly status of the project with you guys. So thank you. And fourth question from Manuel. Regarding facial recognition, how do matches measure similarity and what percentage of similarity are used in the world? Are there different intervals in each region or continent? I think there's NIST which have this certification processes for the face matching, and they certify the algorithms, and I believe they have matrix for the analysis, and they try to standardize it across the world. Regular team, would you please record this question so we can address in more details? I'm afraid that if I start telling something without consulting with the NIST standard, I might misguide while answering this answer. So Manuel, we will take this in the note, and someone from us will come back to you explaining that situation. Sorry for not being able to answer this right now. Like I said, I don't want to mislead you with the guesstimate, not the exact answer. Okay, so it seems like, we have all the questions. My direct email is on this slide. You will receive the copy of this link with the copy of this webinar. Feel free to contact me. Feel free to contact our team, and we will be happy to continue our conversation offline. So thank you for joining in. This was the first time I've done the live webinar by myself, so I apologize if there was some mischaps and some uncertainties on my side, but thank you for joining me. Thank you. Bye.